Hey everyone, welcome to Ruby Cavalier's Dugout. Thank you for joining us. We'll get some video going here in just a brief moment. Um, as a reminder, our next show is going to be November 15th at 9 a.m. We are troubleshooting some of the cold camera features, so thank you for bearing with me. We're going to keep working on that as best we can here. Like, this should be, yep, uh, not labeled this camera. This should be this camera. Uh, so we gotta deactivate that one. This one is what should be camera 25. So it's got that high depth camera um, over here for the puppy cam, so you can see them playing in their baskets when they're down here and stuff like that. We will be doing slideshow presentation soon. This will allow us to show you that crocheting technique I was talking about yesterday, about how to do uh, your starter loop here on the far left and pulling that string through to make additional loops to kind of build that chain. Also, we have how to count your stitches. So obviously you can see right here, you're not counting the active loop on the hook, but every stitch loop beyond that counts as a number. So hopefully that helps explain what we were talking about before. We'll jump back into these pictures when I actually pull up our progress from yesterday of our crochet project came. In the meantime, the puppies are not down here, so sadly, all I got is my title window for you for active stuff. We might load in a video of Disney doing agility here in just a moment with a video scene, so that will be exciting coming up in just a few moments. Um, I'll get the puppies down here so you'll have some cuteness in just a few moments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in just a moment. Another thing we can kind of dive into, I know not a lot of people play Second Life, but for those who play Second Life, this is DFS farming, which means digital farming system. Um, Kind of redundant, I know, but if you ever want to get into Second Life, I can always answer questions regarding that as well. Right now, I'm just boringly bailing water, so we can always dive into that just to kill time until the puppies are down here so we can play with them. Some days I love my job. uh, Call center work is never fun. I'm gonna hold up my knitting here in just a moment, or crocheting. So if people remember, we were using this purple color. It is baby weight yarn, so it gets a nice thin material, which is great. Um, we measured around baby Cora's head. She measured about 12 inches. We did our little sample strip, which you'll see on that previous video. We averaged about 3 stitches per inch, which is how we ended up with 32 stitches around. Now, as I was saying earlier, if you're not used to crocheting or knitting it around, just work back and forth until you get a little bit of weight, and then use your tail to stitch up that last end if you want, or leave a hole or gap, and you can always add a charm or some type of decoration to hide that hole. It's really easy to customize and fix things in crocheting and or knitting if you're um, a little bit more skilled at it. Why my piece looks a little bowed out here is because we already took the measurement for the bulk of her shoulders all the way around, and we found out the measurement for how many inches we needed to add to give that girth for that shoulder span was going to average us about 9 stitches. Now, the reason why I added it on just this end is because this is going to be the back piece at the back of the neck where I'm going to add the cutesy little charm. So this is going to be the concave of the chest. And most dogs have a more bulbous chest, so that's where I gave them more relief. Room would be all in the chest area. Once I get the 1.5 inch length for the chest piece, we're going to show you how to add the armholes next. Now, I do recommend if you have stitch markers or a different color yarn you can string through to help you place the center point of where your chest is going to be. That's going to help you align those armholes to either side of that evenly so you got the exact proportion you want for the gap between the legs and giving the right circumference around each arm. So I'm going to keep working until we have about 1.5 inches, and then we'll dive into that next step. So yay! Here we go, guys. Back to some more crochet footages. I only got a couple pictures so you can see the basic crochet techniques. I'll bounce between that and our title page while we're working. You might see me pop in a cell for a little bit because farming is fun. Farm, farm, farm. I'm weird. It's going to be one of those kind of channels, so thanks for bearing with me. Here we go, guys. Actually, I just took a quick measurement. It looks like I'm currently at 1.5 inches with this row for this thing. So I'm going to go back and just finish up my stitches to my back starting strand, and then we'll jump right into showing you those armholes. I did put the single crochet picture up there, so for those who don't know how to single crochet, that's been up on the screen for a while to help guide you through that step. There was a video where I tried to, oop, I got echo on my other stream. There we go. Uh, we did talk about how to do the single crocheting and casting on and making chains in our very first video, but that was the one where didn't realize I wasn't broadcasting during that whole 2.5 hours I was online. So we're playing catch up. We're gonna get you caught up. If you do have any questions, that's what the little leave a message in chat is for. We can always go deeper and dive into explaining things more if you need it. That is not a problem. I still got about 6 more stitches before I need to go get my little stitch markers to show you guys how to put the armholes in. So I'll be back with you as soon as those are done, and then we will dive into that. So, no activity on the puppy cam, sadly, so uh, they're all upstairs. I definitely want to put some background onto the fencing for our dugout, just so you guys don't see our furnace, but we'll get to that later once we get a little bit more settled into our new space for shooting. Well, we're kind of back. See if I can get Disney on camera. Did you? Oh, maybe. There she is. Go getting a pumpkin. There we go. A little lower so you can see things. So, bribing her with treats is always one way to do it. We got the cute pumpkin beds out. The reason why. Let's do. Where's my dueling phones? Okay. Shrink this. There, now you can see Disney walking around. And me. Alright, so I keep all my stitch counters in this little bin. I think I got these from like the dollar store, but they're really convenient to just store needles and stitch counters. So I do have a couple different color ones, which is going to be useful for, well, she's not on camera right now, so to make me bigger at the moment. So stitch counters come in different sizes and colors. Because we're going to do sleeves, I like to color coordinate my sleeves as one color for my outside markers and then a different color for the inside of my sleeve. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. It helps me keep track of when to decrease and when to stop the decrease or cast off. There's a zillion different ways of saying the same thing in my head, but it's probably not the right terminology. Grab this real quick. So I'm gonna put Disney on for a second while I take a look at some stuff. All right, so what I'm gonna be doing is using this big pink one as my center point. So when we're working through our project, we have our little tail where we started. And I'm just literally folding it in half. The best part about this is mostly it's not an exact science because you'll be able to hide a lot of defaults, but I'm putting this pin trying to be as center opposite that tail as possible, because what we're going to do is that's going to be the center of the chest. So when I measure Cora's chest between the arms, I'm going to count half of that to either side of that halfway point before I start doing the armholes. So yeah, that'll be fun. Let's get back in. What you doing? Oh, she jumped back up on the bed just as I turned the camera to her, of course, right? Yeah, what you doing? Did you get some snaps? Snaps? Let's get you some more. No one can see you over there. Let's see if I can get the camera more towards you on your bed because that's where you seem to be hiding right now. Here, now I can see you. So we'll get better once I get official phone stands, but thank you for bearing with me for our early episode progress. Evidently, lock screen's tagging me up, so I will get that fixed here in a second. Zoom video. There we go. Back to her, where it belongs. What you doing, Disney Boo? Just chilling out in your basket? Did you search all the treats? Mommy scattered a lot of treats everywhere. Did you search everywhere? I think I'm gonna put some treats in those pumpkins and make you work for it there. Yeah? Why don't I put some treats in that pumpkin? Because it'll be fun to see you dive into that little tiny pumpkin. Those pumpkin beds are cute. I can't remember. I think I got them from an Aldi's actually back well before Halloween's month rolled around because all stores are several months ahead of every holiday we get nowadays. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Alright, let's get that placed in your pumpkin. Oh, put them in the pumpkin. That should be fun. Kind of reminds me of that, Winnie the Pooh Adventures movie where he gets stuck in Rabbit's door. It's small. I know she can fit in there. She's fit in there before. But because there's very little turnaround space in there, because I got those when Cora was baby, tiny, uh, it's probably not the most comfortable for her because it's a really tight turnaround and because they wobble. Same thing when I think I got like a Santa Claus hat bed from like Target or something. It's more geared towards like cats that can turn around on a zero dime space. But yeah, did you find goodies? Is there goodies in that bed? Did you search? Yeah, search that bed. Make sure you got all of them. Get them all. Alright, so as I was saying, we got the marker and across from the string. I gotta find my notebook to get the notes of how much chest space she needs between the arms. I don't think I took that measurement. Where did I put my notebook? I think I did around her shoulder blades. I might have to do one more additional measurement. Yes, you're looking up at me so cute. Yes, you're a cute baby. Maybe we can do some grooming stuff on our channel too, because this is one of the few dogs here that doesn't shed, so she needs actual haircuts, and I am not good at haircuts. I am not. I am one of those butcher haircut parents where I do the best I can. I do have a grooming arm that I can link to a table and the sling where I can hold her up and do the legs, but I haven't even set that up yet. Because as you can kind of see in the wall behind us, those bricks, the walls are half done. Everything's kind of under construction right now down here. The idea was to turn this space into my Diagon Alley crafting area down here. And it's a great idea and concept, but it's just taking a lot of time to do because I haven't had a lot of time to do it, unfortunately. So eventually we're going to have all the bricks for Diagon Alley around the basement. With our local area flooding, it's been a little bit harder to do. So yeah, at least we have that to kind of work towards, I guess. Well, if you're not going to take up this much space, I'm going to take up this much space with my camera. Aha! So what I gotta do is grab our notebook so we can see if I took the measurements for Cora. If not, the two colors that I'm using for the sleeve stitch markers, I got blue and pink. So I think my pink, my bolder option, is going to be to stop the cast off, kind of more of like a red flag of that's where I'm going to stop decreasing, and then my blue is going to be my flag to go start decreasing to put those armholes in. The purple larger tag I got in there is just kind of eyeballing where I want my center point of the chest area to be. So as I said, we're going to measure between the arms and we're going to split it, divide it in half, and count equally to either side. And this is kind of where things get a little tricky because let's say you're dividing in half and it doesn't break equally, then you kind of gotta overall look at the piece and see, okay, we're gonna offset it one stitch which direction. It's kind of where interpretation based on your dog's fit come into play. You either go an additional stitch wider or you do one versus the other. Usually I try to opt for keeping things symmetrical and I keep it the chest area one size shorter, and then if I need more room in the arms to accommodate that, maybe make the sleeves area on the side a bigger. That way you're not losing that pull in the arms to the center for the dogs. And then you'll see once we get going. Thought I had my notebook down here, and I'm afraid I might have taken it upstairs. Nope, here it is. So I have my trusty notebook. It says slippers on it just because I do a lot of knitting for slippers. It was the first pattern my grandmother taught me. So that's one of the patterns that I got memorized. I did draw this diagram of the dog sweater pointing out sleeves. I'm not going to show it on camera because the more I look at it, it looks like an inappropriate sketch. So it wasn't intended that way, but I'm going to draw something more professional through a graphics program to demonstrate it versus showing you my horrible sketch that looks inappropriate. So we did measure neck to arm. I did remeasure that to change arms. She had 10 inches around arms, so half is going to be 5 inches. So with our stitch count of 3, that's going to mean our armholes are going to be about 15 stitches on the top And then when you come back and add those 15 stitches back, it's going to give you the other side, the bottom side of the armhole, to continue knitting or crocheting the uh, rest of the piece. So that's going to be interesting and very exciting. So I did not take the measurement I need. So in about 15 minutes, I'll go grab the baby Cora and we will get that measurement in there so that we can find out how much space we need between each armhole, which is kind of like a key moment. Small sleeping baby in her bed right now. That's so cute. I don't want to move the camera closer to her and risk disturbing her though. Her head popped up and back down. Alright, I'll be able to go grab Corin her measurements in just about a minute, and then we will be able to add our little tags for where the armholes are going to go into the cute sweater. As I was saying last week, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. What I was thinking about doing is it's kind of a lighter purple than the Bring Child Sparked was, but if you can picture this purple with a darker green overlay, maybe just little wings at the collar, and doing like an open breast kind of back to it, I could in theory make this look like Winifred Sanderson for Hocus Pocus. She has a little bit of a darker purple though, kind of more like the fuzzy pants I'm wearing right now, that type of purple. But it might be okay. I'm just worried about making it too thick, and then it's a hot piece of thing for her to wear. But come winter, it's not a bad idea. We'll see once we get that in there, how that will look. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab the baby and we'll grab those measurements. we're back. So I got my trusty handy dandy notebook, and we're going to take Cora's measurement here, so that we can determine how many inches we need between her paws. Here, Cora. Come front. Yes. And sit. All right, good. Sit, sit, sit. All right. Usually there's only about an inch or two between breeds on dogs. It's hard to get a good measurement when you're wiggling, honey. Oh, thank you for the kisses. Yeah, we're right at between 2 inches. So 2 inches for her. And earlier we determined that every inch is about 3 stitches. So 2 inches, perfect. We're going to do 3 inches to either side of that halfway point, and then we can start on those armholes for the puppy. Oh, you can't even see. There we go. So we can start on those armholes for the puppy and get those going. So we'll do some picture in picture here so that you guys can see us both at the same time and get that going. Here, I got a transition. Perfect. Which camera is that? There we go. Perfect. All right. So here's our little pick. And we're going to grab, like I said, the red ones first. That's going to be one end of our work. And we're just going to count 3 stitches from our purple center point stitch. Now, the center point stitch does count as a stitch. So make sure you're including that in your measurements. Once you have the 6 in the middle done, tagged out, you can remove that middle stitch. I usually don't because it helps me kind of eyeball the center point of the tail or back of the coat when I get to that stage as well. So I'm just gonna leave it in there as an approximate. But here's my 6 stitches separated by the red markers. So when I fold it out, that distance between the 2 red markers is my space between her legs. Now, based on our notes, the armhole we want to create was 10 inches around her armhole. So, as I was saying earlier, it, hi baby, I'll move this out of the way. Yes, can you sit? I'll get you more snackies in a second. So 10 inches to make sure it goes around the whole shoulder and elbow so they can get their full paw in there. Hey baby. Oh, that's kind of lagging out. I'm going to deactivate that one. Hold on. Let me restart it. It was starting to get laggy for her picture. Should be restarting in a minute. Until then, let's do full camera until it decides to reload. So half of it, because we're going to cast off and then reapply the bottom later. And then that brings it to 5 inches. 5 times 3 is going to be 15. So that is where we're going to then count from our red tag. 15 stitches, which is a lot, I know, which does take up a lot of space, all the way in. so that we can get the other end of the armhole marked. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And because she's a smaller dog, kind of takes up most of the sweater. I'm going to remeasure that. I feel like that is a big difference. Come here, Cora. I'll get you a snack if you come here to get remeasured. You sit. Thank you. Sit. Yes, 6 inches sounds more accurate than 10. I don't know where I was getting the 10 inches from. That I'm very glad I remeasured. So this is definitely a lesson of measure multiple times to make sure you're getting a right fit. So with our new number of 6 inches, not 10, which would have been huge. The reason why I questioned it, because it was taking up mostly all the way back to my starter strand, which clearly is a lot of space. I have another pen, or do I gotta dive in my drawer here? Okay, camera might move on them for a second, and I'll pause that video for a second while I dig in my pen drawer here. And just grab a highlighter for now. Simply, there we go. All right, so we now have a 6-inch arm on her. Half is going to be 3 inches. So that's now taking it down to 9 stitches for an arm. Very big difference. So a little bit of math of making your own patterns, but it all works out in the end. Get that ready, and I'm gonna just put them on for a little bit while I get situated, and I'll show me counting it out in just a few moments for you. Let me grab them. There we go. So it's the blue ones I'll need to change down to 9 stitches. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. When I was counting it out the first time, just my instinct was like saying 10 felt like the right number, and right away I was second guessing that, and that feels much better. Okay, because it's still now leaving. Now let's see. So between the start of the armhole, which is this red tag, to the blue tag, that's going to be half the sleeve distance, which is much better because now it's going to leave that much for half the back, and then you double that for that of a back panel, which is kind of like my well, she definitely got into that pumpkin bed. You kind of don't want the armholes completely wrapping around the full body. You kind of want it to be on one half of your product, maybe a little bit exceeding half, but not too much more than that. Otherwise, again, like I said, double check your measurements because usually dogs don't have arms all the way up on her back for holes. So definitely some readjustment was needed, and I'm glad we did. So I'm going to count out 9 to the other side with my next blue stitch counter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then that is tagged. You girls be nice. Yeah, you better kiss her and make up. So I do have both my tags in. It just takes me a minute to get situated. I apologize because I'm gonna probably pull up full screen for me in a moment, but they were getting all snuggly, and so I just wanted to wait until they were settled. And she's back in the pumpkin. I see that pumpkin rattling around. It's hilarious. That's the best part about my day. Is watching these two be goofballs. Okay, we're only gonna do half and half because you guys still need to see what she's doing because it's adorable. All right. So like I said, we finished that chest section of going around with that expanded stitch up until our starting point with our tail. And now when we get to all of our new stitch markers, what we're going to do is single crochet up to our first marker, do slip stitches all the way to there, crochet single all across the red back to red, and then slip stitch and then regular crochet. What that's going to do is it's going to create a layer of high and low, and then when we come back, what we're going to do is then chain equal to that gap to get us over to the next spot, so it leaves kind of like a hole. So you'll see here. Let me grab them for cuteness here. the delay, I'm going to I would show you the babies, but she's kind of sitting here next to me at the moment, which I'll show you in a second. Angle. She's got her own chair next to me. That little cuteness there. I should probably just. Oh, and I got my Mocky Pet Block shirt. Yeah, he's just chilling next to me. So again, for those who are coming in late and don't know what we're working on for crocheting, I'll put the pictures back up here. So starting your chain, how to do it. Building that chain up and how to count your stitches. And all we're doing is single crochets into that. Now once we get to the end, we have connected the two to kind of form a circle, so that's what you see it kind of in a rounded shape because we've connected them together and just kept crocheting in a circle. We're getting almost to the point where I'm getting to my placeholder markers so that I can start showing you a slip stitch, which is going to affect the holes of the sleeve, so to speak, of where our armholes are going to go. There we go. That's the words I wanted to say. Armholes for where their little paws are going to sneak through to make the little armholes. So once I get to the actual slip stitches, I'll come back on camera to demo that fully so you can see kind of more what slip stitch is. And hopefully when I get to that point, I'll put another graphic on the screen showing what a slip stitch will look like. So you have all those nice resources available to you. So we're about to go into the arm sleeve portion. So I've crocheted all the way up to my first tag. So to do a slip stitch, you're going to go into the stitch, pull through. You're not going to grab another loop, but you're just going to continue that loop through your original. And what that's going to do, I'm just going to move the marker into the complete stitch I just did. What that's going to do then is kind of move your target loop without elevating it into an actual stitch. Now, for the record, some people don't even do the slip stitch part of that at all. They just immediately do the chain part where they chain the back half of the gap. The reason why I do slip stitching, because the original pattern I was using for this was for knitting, and you can't just cast on more. You have to actually cast off before casting on for the back half of the sleeve. So it's more the format that I was used to when I modified this pattern for crocheting. But in theory, you could just not do the slip stitches and just chain the back half of your sleeve and call that done. Completely fine, completely doable. Yeah, I'm just slip stitching it because I like, I don't know if there's a benefit or a negative effect to doing that way. If people are more crochet savvy than I am, you can let me know how that affects overall product, but as of right now, it's just how I do it, how we roll. I'm busy hunting kibble I threw around the room, which is fine. Keeps them occupied. As long as they're playing nice and not fighting over it, it's a good time. I think the reason why I do it with the row where it's single crochet and slip stitches where the armhole is because in my feel it gives the top part of the sleeve more of a concave look, so that if I decide to put actual cuffs on the sleeve, um, it's more of like, I don't know, maybe like a rounded edge to work with kind of theory, versus just a flat surface. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Hey, kids, there is plenty of kibble around. As you may or may have not heard, Poppy does get a little food aggressive at times, so things that can help that type of situation, which we've been working on, is what's called the sharing game, where you literally have them all sitting in a row and you take turns feeding each one so that they know that there's an equal opportunity for everyone to get a piece. Um, Again, unfortunately, I don't have time always to sit and play the sharing game with them, so that them learning to figure it out on their own is a little tougher sometimes. Sometimes Tuesdays are like secondary Mondays where nothing goes right. But then there's a puppy to stare at, and everything feels better. Yes. Are you getting sassy? Mommy not giving you the full attention that you deserve and want. Mommy sees you there. And you'll get snacks in just a moment. Because I know you all about the snackers. Snacky snackies. Okay. Can we do a trick for camera? Oh, sit. Good sit. Can you do shake? Oh, sit. Oh, all the kids want to participate. Okay, sit. Yes, good sits. Disney. Sit. Sit, Disney. Disney first. Happy, good sit. Corey, you gotta sit. There you go. You gotta wait your turn. This turn taking is very hard for you. Shake. Shake. Oh, sit. It's not always your turn. Poppy, shake. Poppy, shake. Cora, sit down. Okay, Cora, shake. Yes. Will you want to shake? Poppy, shake. Yes. Good, Poppy. No, they stay down. Disney, shake. Shake. Good, Disney. No, it's not your turn. You have to wait. You're very impatient. Knocking stuff off the table and you're being impatient. We have to learn this turn-taking philosophy. It's hard for a puppy to understand, but we take turns in this family. Yes, we good turn takers. All right, go lay down again. You're not going to get all your treats in one go. That's not how it works either. You have to spread them out. Because you've already got your breakfast, so this is just bonus snacking now. All right, just since I got back to we did that, can't think of it, slip stitch for the top of the armhole, single crocheted everywhere else, and now we got back to our pinpoint for the second lap. So instead of slip stitching where we did before, now we did another chain with that same amount of stitches of 9, and then we're just skipping that many stitches to go into that hole where we picked up the other end of the armhole. So counting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then going into that next stitch to do our typical single crochet. I'm going to do a couple just so it's kind of locked in before I hold it up and show it to you. Grab that big hole. So now we have our armhole, and you can see with the two halves that should be big enough to get her arm all the way through. It does stretch a little bit, so it'll be a nice big armhole once we're done for her to get her little armsy through. Once you've connected it, I usually don't pull the tags for the armhole until I've gotten another row past where I can chained. And then even when I do that, I don't pull the back part of the armhole because I kind of use that as my guide for my belly zone, is that back armhole. So when I'm casting off for that belly zone, like for the boys, I use those as kind of like the guide to not go too far past that for the armholes for making that back sleeve, because then it'll wrap around their body really nice. So once I get the second armhole, I'll hold it up for you guys again so you can see, and we'll go from there. Oh, Cora was deciding to eat her sweater that we were making. So, as you can see from the camera, we got the 2 armholes in. So the next part we measure is how long we want that little bit of chest area behind her arms, kind of like the bulk of her chest. And this is also a good point to make sure it's wide enough to cover her chest area. We want to also include that measurement and do that expanse in there as well. So the biggest part of her stomach, giving her some wiggle room, we're going to say 16 inches. That way we got some room for her harness to wrap around. And we want it to be long enough to cover her full midsection. She's a female, so about 5 inches long. So we got 5 inches long to make sure that we're about 16 inches around in stitches. So let's grab our notebook, compare our measurements from before to make sure that that all lines up. Bust, yep, 16 inches around her bust. We're going to do 5 inches long. So we'll do some quick calculations here. So we want it to be 16 inches long times 3. It's going to be 48 stitches. Now back with our expanded for the other area, we were already at 36 stitches before. So minus our 36 stitches means we got to add 12 stitches somewhere in that mix. Because I think we were 12 across before. Yes. We were 12 inches for around the shoulder area. And now we want to be 16 inches. So adding those 4 extra inches means we're going to have to add 12 stitches in there somewhere to get that belly size accommodated for. So we're probably going to do, again, at the bottom of the sweater, similar to what we did for the chest area, and add them all directly to that area. So we get to that concaved bellow out from the belly. So that's the side that's going to get the expanse. I'm actually going to sign off for today, guys, but thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, we got as far as getting the armholes in. Um, we will be increasing those stitches to the chest area. Probably won't get to the full width of that area till tomorrow. So if I have time to pop on, I will. I do have a dentist appointment tomorrow, so the likelihood of us filming in the morning is highly unlikely. We might have to do a late broadcast, but I'm gonna put the ending credits title up here for you guys. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We will be doing a larger stream, hopefully back up in the man cave area for lots of playroom. The 15th at 9 a.m. So make sure you tune in for that. That's our next official scheduled show where we'll be doing strictly dog-based stuff and having a good time over in the man cave. So I'm Becca, and thank you for joining Ruby Cavalier's Dugout, and we will see you next time.